Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Apex Racing TV and welcome to the home of the Japanese Grand Prix, the Suzuka International Circuit in Japan, where we're getting set for the latest round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 series. This is week 5 of the season. We started out at Monza, been to Catalonia, Silverstone, and Sebring since then, and now we head to the far east of Asia for week 5 of the campaign. Joining me in the commentary box for the 22-lap race tonight, alongside me, Anna Buff, is Sam Coomer on the cameras, and it's Sam Fitzpatrick. And Sam, welcome. It's pretty apt that we're here. Whilst the monster typhoon, they're calling it, is battering the real-life Suzuka International Circuit, we've got the virtual one here, and tell you what, the conditions look pretty ominous as well as we get set for the race that's coming up tonight.
Yes, very overcast, but no threats of any stormy weather, fortunately. Yeah, maybe like the worst in like 60 years or something. Like really quite serious over there in Japan. Of course, best of luck to everyone over there. But no, I think it's meant to be clearing up a little bit, so hopefully we'll have a F1 race tomorrow. Certainly hope so. But certainly on iRacing, yeah, should be absolutely fine. And what a legendary circuit this is, of course. Completely old school, barely any changes around this place for the past 40 years or so. And it is always amongst the driver's top 5 favourites. Circuit. It's got a great plus, particularly the S's section, but all of it, every single corner around here, people like. There's not really any criticism you can place on this place, and also in these single seaters, it is absolutely in its element in these high downforce cars. So should be a terrific 22-lap race.
Indeed, yeah, qualifying session coming to an end. I think the only corner that's been changed maybe the only two corners that have been changed is 130R and the final chicane. Apart from that, it is pretty much the same from when this circuit came onto the F1 calendar in 1987. Starting grid on your screen then. Christophe Herbigno leads the way. Then it's Tim Delisle in second place. He might be getting ready for Bathurst because that's not too far away. I think that starts in a couple hours. So good morning to him. Matti Sipler is in third. Then it's Jose Langer in fourth. Charlie Summers in fifth. Rob Bauer in sixth. Then Lubomir Moric in seventh. Then Paul Ilbrink in eighth. Simone Pizzica in 9th and Hone Kajanen in 10th, Julian Nachi in 11th, David Roth in 12th, and the rest of them scroll down your screen as we are getting set to go here. And a few interesting liveries. I've got training paints on, so hopefully they're the same as what you're seeing on the YouTube stream. And some 22 cars, and me and Sam Cooper were talking just before you arrived earlier. This is a track that should suit this car too.
Yeah, definitely. It can properly take advantage of these fast corners because this is very high downforce car. It's not far away from, an F1 specification car from the early 2000s. So should be, a fantastic mix. Potentially a little bit difficult to overtake due to the long corners around here, very downforce dependent. And it's not necessarily the easiest place to overtake around here. But that often creates even better racing, so should be very good fun.
We go then. Here come the lights. And the 5th race meeting of the season in the iRacing Formula 3.5 series is underway. A great start by Christophe Herbigno. It looks like the Devotion Sim Racing car is going to lead into the first right-hander. Oh, crash. Straight off is Rob Bauer. That is one of the Benelux cars, and he's also been joined by Edward Zamborski. So problems for them already. Problems for one of the pink cars there. That is car 4. That is Jose Langer. He's been passed by Jochen Rink going through the S's for the first time. So on for some of the drivers already, but not so for the top 3, Sam. They are as you were as we go towards the Degner curves.
Yeah, so Langer was up in 4th place on the start, but drops way down the order there. I don't know if he picked up a slowdown or maybe some damage, but he was just very slow coming out of first curve, getting into the S's, and that's a great shame for him. But straight away, Herbigno getting about an 0.8 of a second lead. That's what he would have wanted, especially going up to these few long straights where you're most vulnerable as the defending driver, but he's done everything he needs to do. And pretty close all the way down the field. Great start for Morhon, by the way, from 14th to 9th already.
Yeah, fantastic start from him. It's not been as good for for James Mallow or Luke Groom. Mallow has jumped back to the pits, and there's on the event viewer here that Luke Groom has crashed as well. So problems for them as we go two wide into 130R for the first time. That's Thomas Knoll and David Roth. And up at the Casio Triangle, the final chicane, that is Paul Ilbrink getting past Lubomir Muric. No surprises really that Ilbrink is the number one. He has got the highest iRacing in the field, just under 7k. As over the line we go to complete the opening lap. It's Christophe Herbigno, Tim Dalal in second, and then it's Matti Ciplia in third place with a very familiar livery on that iRacing in that iRacing Formula 3.5 car going through the S's. Looks similar to the Apex one. I don't think it is, but yeah, that familiar blue there for all to see, and a little glacier livery. Might be actually. Yeah, as the first lap's now in the books.
Yeah, they nearly managed to move up into second place there, did. Ciplo, we got Kachaka round. And is anyone going to hit him? They seem to be aware that he's on the inside. They'll get yellow flags, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll slow down. And somehow Simone might be able to carry on. Not too much damage on that car. Hopefully with this new damage model for iRacing, that you'll lose your front wing when you tap the wall like that. But he seems to get away without too much damage. Langer making his way back up. He's already up into 11th, so he's gained 3 places since that poor start, getting past Locatelli. Next up will be Roth as Knoll gets back past Morahan. So Morahan with a great start. Knoll actually with an even better start. He's up 8 places already. This is the strongest I think we've ever seen Thomas Knoll. Yeah,
this is probably the part of the circuit where this is the part of the field, I should say, where there's going to be a lot of interesting battles going on. Jose Langer, we saw the overtake he made earlier. He's on the comeback trail, and here Thomas Knoll is 8 positions gained going into the Casio Triangle for car 11, the Austrian. I think it was in Austria today where we saw the first person ever to run a marathon under 2 hours. Not that Lubomir Muric is worrying about that at all, because he's in a battle with Hone Kaijin, and this is definitely a sprint for these guys, and that is the Finn ahead and up into 6th place. Good move down the front straight there, and that final chicane, Sam, that's going to be a crucial area on the circuit. If you get a really poor run out of that, especially in these single-seaters, then you are really going to be at the mercy of the car behind going down the front straight.
Yeah, definitely. That was it was superb from F1, the YouTube channel, to put live the 2005 F1 race, and everyone was watching along, like 21,000 viewers or something. Really good to see. Because that's how Fisichella lost the lead to Raikkonen that year. Just went too defensive into that chicane and left him a sitting duck down the pit straight, as we see Herbino with that big apologies. I didn't quite realise that Herbino had lost the lead, so apologies for not picking that up. But yeah, dropping down to second place, Delisle now in the lead, and Herbino just set the fastest lap of the race as well. But that's really cost him, and now he might even have some floor damage as well.
He was very, very lucky not to completely be out after that, Christophe Herbigno. We saw someone spin off earlier in that exact spot. It was Simone, in fact. I think he's actually done for the day. I think he's... Oh, and Langer spun again! He was off at turn 1 at the very start of the race, and he looked like he was going to be on the comeback trail, but instead, he's now pretty much back where he started, down in 16th place. And he's got a lot of work to do, as here we go, another battle. This is Cedric Bill versus Rob Bower, another cop that was off at the first corner, and Alessandro Roccatello, who is in 14th place. So nice free car scrap going on here as well. And they are all queuing behind Jochen Rink and also David Roth in front. So quite an interesting scrap going on here for a spot in the top 10.
Yeah, I think Roth has kind of just been Mr. Consistent so far. Everything's been going on around him, but he's just been able to keep the car straight so far. But he might start falling behind these drivers who maybe have had issues earlier on. He ought to be a little bit further up the order. So great shame for Langer, who had that spin, of course, just before setting this one up. But like I said before, it's a little bit tricky in the turbulent air in this car. We've seen it particularly at Barcelona and also Silverstone, I think, this season. And this place as well. Going to be quite an effect, just running a little bit wide onto the AstroTurf and suck you out to the gravel there. But you can just see this fantastic flow of corners, even the slow hairpin. Still got a nice kind of rhythm to it, and Paul with a really good run through that corner. Can set his sights going up into Spoon Curve. Good straight line speed for him. It'll go to the outside, will turn into the inside for Spoon Curve, but not quite with the overspeed speed at the moment. Now he does, and you can see how narrow it is going into that corner. Four still moves ahead though, up into 11th place.
It's a very good retro F1 liveries, I must say. That is a Tolman that we saw in that earlier battle that Sam was just describing there. And now we're too wide going through 130R. That is the Finn, Matti Siplia versus Victor Morgan. 5 places gained for Victor, 5 places lost for Matti, but he's getting one of those back here. Here's a replay of going into... Oh, wow. That's the reason why he's lost those 5 places, in fact. That's Spoon Curve, where the two Williams famously went off in 95. So Sebastian Vettel had spun as well when he was having his spin phase this time last year.
Has that phase ended?
It's
I hate people who dislike Sebastian Vettel saying that he's going to retire and that. So I've just gone into that group. He's a very good driver.
Yeah, you don't want to come across as all Hamilton fanboy, do you, Sam? Yeah, Twitter is a pretty dangerous place when we open that can of worms. Lap 5 of 22 then. We are nearly approaching a quarter of the way through the race here. And Tim Delisle has got an 0.8 of a second. That's as big of a gap as he's had so far. Christophe Herbigno, who lost the lead earlier, is still keeping the Aussie within arm's reach. It's Belgium versus Australia here. So an interesting scrap this could be. Car 2 going up the hill. He's got the second highest iRacing in the field. He's only just 36 behind Paul Ilbrink in the iRacing stake. And I think we might have, I don't know, we have it on our updated overlay Sam Cooler on the cameras, but we do have a button, I think, where we can, it's a projection of how much the driver's iRating increases if they win. Might have made that up, but there you go. So the iRating is at stake here, and yeah, if Tim Delisle does win this race and Paul Ilbrink finishes where he does, I think it'll be pretty close in the iRating stakes between them at the end of this one.
Yeah, it will be. We kind of got used to Ilbrink being the top driver in this series, as David Roth, I was saying earlier on, he's been Mr. Consistent, hasn't got caught up in any instance. But that is an incident for him at the Cassier Triangle. So shame for him there. Loses quite a few places because he had a lot of drivers kind of queuing up behind him. Great retro livery there of Benetton. 90, is that 94 or 95?
95.
95.
Yeah, 95 is when they switched to Renault. Was Ford. Had a bit more green on it, I think, in 1994 as well. So yeah, that's 2 retro F1 liveries we've got in the field today. Other cigarettes are available, by the way. No tobacco advertising has been phased out for quite some time now. So,
well, we've also got Mission Winner, of course, which is effectively smoking in some way.
It's it's the King of Marlborough basically trying to get around the cigarette advertising ban by getting his vaping company.
Right, okay.
Yeah, hence Scuderia Ferrari Marlboro all those years ago. Lap 6 then. An interesting story on tobacco advertising there for you as we go into Spoon, riding on board with Jose Langer, who, credit to him, hasn't given up. I know many people in the official series where they have 2 spins, then they reckon it's not their race, and then they're done for the day. And here he is. He is closing right up to the rear of Andreas Nielsen going into 130R. Chance could be going on into the chicane. Here we go. Sends it up the inside and through he goes up into 13th place. 9 places, just the 9 places now to gain back to where he was. Fastest lap of the race last time around for Christophe Herbigno in second as well, Sam. So moving everywhere you look here is another battle.
Yeah, Roth versus Locatelli. Roth with that earlier spin, getting back past Locatelli. Good to see Alessandro out there. Just about gets into these splits, usually does Alessandro, although a little bit more comfortably today. Number 16 out of 22 at Sebring last week. He was, I think, like 22 out of 22. So his iRacing split going up as Herbigno into the wall. The former leader, he was catching back up to Delisle out in the lead, but he must have been pushing absolutely to his own. He just set the fastest lap of the race, and this is going to be the AstroTurf, I imagine, just running a little bit wide, spinning up that tyre, and the walls are pretty near around this part of the circuit, certainly around that part of the circuit with the bridge, of course. And great shame for him. Good for Tim Delisle because he's now got a 2.7 second lead.
Yeah, that's lifted quite a lot of weight off Tim Delisle's shoulders now. He's got a 2.7 second lead. That's by no means anyway certain of him being home and dry. We are only a third of the way through this one, or just over a third of the way through here at Suzuka. And here is another great battle. This is Morjan versus Scipio. Of course, Matti trying to get some of those places back. Victor Morjan, who's gained 7 so far today, is hoping that he can halt the Finns charge back through the field. Onto the front straight we go then. Over the timing line there. Look at the speed that Matti the Finn has. Straight up the inside he goes, up into the first corner. You'd expect this move to be confirmed. There you go. Through he goes, and that is Matti Scipio back into 7th place. The next car ahead, though, is quite some way away, 4 seconds to the next car. That is Thomas Knoll, who is our biggest mover in the field. Here is Cedric Bill, the Frenchman, on the spirit of old F1 liveries. That's not too dissimilar to a LaRousse from the early 90s, but I think I might be clutching at straws there. But anyway, the Frenchman is 8 places up from where he started, in 12th place, and it's right in the thick of the action because it's got Andreas Nilsson behind and Jose Langer right in front as well.
Yeah, he's certainly in the thick of it. Must say, that's a bit before my time. That livery, I can just about do the Benetton livery, but anything before '94 is ancient to me. But no, he's under pressure a little bit now from the car behind. Nilsson really catching up. The slipstream effect seems to be quite strong in this car. A lot of overspeed for a lot of the trailing cars. Around the outside at Spoon, just gets forced out, and because if you go off the circuit around this place, sure, there isn't necessarily a whole lot of gravel on the most part, but you do have a lot of kind of that slippery AstroTurf on the outside. It just drags you out. Ever so difficult to get the traction down as well. And so it is quite a good pouncer. Here we go, side by side into 130R. That's brave, and it's very nicely done. Has to completely miss the apex there. But that is replicating some legendary moves we've seen over the years, and the car number 12 gets past car number 18.
Yeah, it's almost perfect, isn't it, really? The Benetton became the Renault, and that was the move that Alonso did around the outside of Schumacher there in the 2005 race. Here we go, into the first corner. This is Morjan versus Jose Langer, and it looks like the Victor's grimly holding on. It might just be a matter of time before car 4 gets by, but let's see what kind of defence Victor can do. He's doing well so far, going through the S's, using some of the curbs, which is probably not ideal in cars that are sitting this low on the ground. Not too much in the way of aero bits on these Formula Renault cars. Formula 3.5 cars, I should say. They have changed a bit over the years. And now through the second of the Degners, under the bridge, which makes this circuit a figure of 8. It has taken us 9 laps to mention that. And into the hairpin we go. The little lock up there, good exit by Jose Langer. See if the Iberian could get by into Spoon Curve. This was where Vettel tried to get one of his moves done and ended up spinning. Let's see if the Iberian can make that a bit better. It's very tough to get an overtake done. He's looking up the inside. Through he goes. That's Jose Langer now up into 9th place. This is one of the corners where he spun on earlier. But yeah, he's now into 9th place, and now he's got to put his head down and try and get back up to the rear of Rob Bower, who is 5.5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, he's 22 seconds off the lead, which is quite incredible how he's that close, considering that he's had 2 spins and maybe a couple of slowdowns as well. And of course has been fighting his way through the order, even having to go defensive there, but it's Morjan instead who actually makes the mistake. Will be under pressure from Rink. So by side they go. Another retro livery there for Rink. Not sure who it is, but he should move ahead as they move on to lap 10 in this race. Didn't need slipstream from the car ahead, and that was very nicely done. He'll try to stick with Langer for as long as possible. Yeah,
that livery is what Benetton, that is what preceded Benetton. It was Tolman.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the team that Senna raced for in 1984. That's what it's most famous for anyway. Before coming Benetton in 1985. Benetton BMW, had kind of a Tracy driving for them there. And then won its first race in 1986 with Gerhard Berger, I believe. I think that's how the story goes anyway. Approaching half race distance then here in week 5 of the week 5 of the iRacing Formula 3.5 series. I do have the YouTube chat open, so feel free to drop any message in there. I might read it. But here is our race leader, Tim Delisle. He's got a 3-second lead now. He's extended it by a couple of tenths or two. Charlie Summers, though, Sam, is not fully allowing Tim to run away with it. As you can see from the times at the bottom, he's been fractionally quicker, but more often than not, it has been Tim that's been lapping quicker than the man who's currently sitting in second place.
Yeah, on that last lap, they were identical to the 100th. So maybe Summers is close. Great to see Charlie out there, actually, because we see him a lot in the BSR MX5 Tuesday series. And with other BSR leagues, I think he's featured in over time, but it's good to see him trying his hand at this, and kind of shows how competitive that league is when we've got Charlie, who is one of the front runners in that league, at the front of this field as well, and a completely contrary car, of course, but taking to it very well. Also, I think I see AOR on there. Not sure what that stands for. Anyone who can tell us on the chat, that would be appreciated.
It's not Apex Online Racing, is it? No.
I think it's a different logo. I'm not sure. But yeah, anyone who knows, let us know on the chat, certainly. But maybe Delisle, I kind of just feel as though maybe he's got a little bit extra up his sleeve if he really needs to deploy it. Someone's just falling a little bit further off on this lap, and Ilbrink starting to make some inroads as well. Ilbrink seemingly struggling again in qualifying, starts this race down in only 8th place, and he did the same thing at Sebring, where I think he started 7th and finished 2nd. I think he might be able to achieve a very similar result today.
Half race distance then, and just an idea to prove to you that we are in the top split. Tim Delisle, 39.72, Charlie Summers, 39.72, Paul Ilbrink, 39.77. That's how close these guys are running. New fastest lap of the race as well from Tim Delisle on that last tour, 38.989, 39.6, so quite somewhat slower. Summers and Ilbrink slightly slower as well. So that was Tim Delisle pulling the pin almost on that lap, and the gap is now 3.3 seconds. But you can see, Sam, as the times continue to pour in, that the tyres have definitely not gone off at all around here. I don't know whether that's the conditions or not, but we are still continuing to see personal bests, and an interesting scrap going on for best of the rest here between Jone Kaijinen in 4th and Lubomir Moric, who's in 5th.
Yeah, I think Kaijinen got past Moric earlier on, and yeah, hasn't been able to pull away. Car number 7 putting a lot of pressure on. Track temperature, by the way, 19 degrees. Air temperature, 19 degrees. It's very early. It's half 6 in the morning, which is approximately the time that anyone in Europe is going to have to get up in the morning to see the Grand Prix tomorrow. Oh, of course, we've also got to watch qualifying. I say you've got to watch qualifying, but I mean, I am. So I think 2010 was the last time there was a situation like this, and it was a really good qualifying because I think Kubica put it on the front row with like a unbelievable lap, like cut a corner or something.
Yeah,
and
it's a shame that his wheel fell off after 2 laps. It was in the race.
Running in the podium places, and yeah, falls off. So then after that was a pretty dull race.
Yeah, it all happened at once, didn't it? We had a massive wreck two massive wrecks at the start. We had Petrov and Hulkenberg flying off, and then was it Massa that ended up flying into the wall at the first corner or something like that in 2010. But you're right, yeah, the qualifying got moved to Sunday on that one. Also got moved to Sunday in 2004. That was a fairly processional one as well. Michael Schumacher coasted to win number 13 of that year. Oh, was just slightly sideways on the exit of the chicane. That might invite Cedric Bill here an opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of overspeed. Go to the inside. This is a brave move. Whoever's got the momentum usually has the advantage going into turn 1. That's what Bill has there. And it just shows a little bit of a mistake coming out of that chicane. It's so difficult to get the power down with these cars which have no traction control, of course. And just the tiniest of mistakes can really cost you. And he falls 1 place.
Remarkably, I think 2014, which of course had the massive rainstorms during the race, to remember what qualifying was like that year.
I know Rosberg got pole, but I'm not sure apart from that. I think it was dry.
Yeah, and then the rain hit on the Sunday, of course. Locking the brakes there. Jochen Rink is off, so the Tolman has hit the barrier. He's going to reverse and get going again. It is a Renault powertrain, these cars, but I don't think Tolman was ever sponsored by, was ever run with a Renault engine. I think it was last one, the Tolman Heart in the 1980s, but let's forget about that. But he gets going again. And here's a fight for 6th and 7th. This is another position for Matty. He's managed to bridge that gap and overtake Rob Bauer. And he's now into, Thomas Knoll, and he's up into 6th place. Only 3 places left to gain for him, and he's back where he started. And Lubomir Moric is only 1.4 seconds off the road. And if he continues at the rate he's going, you should be able to catch him within the not too distant future. He was half a second quicker than him on that last lap. Thanks very much for the subscribe as well, Patrick. Anybody else that feels inclined to do the same, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon as well, so you never miss a live stream. And give this video a like as well. So, ticks all those boxes. And we're now on lap 14 of 22, 2/3 distance. And it's been a pretty entertaining race so far, as Tim Dallar now leads by 4.2 seconds. Charlie Sumner second, Paul Ilbrink third. And then Kajinen, Moric, Ciplia, Knoll, Bauer, Langer, and Nielsen round out the top 10.
Of course, no pit stops for these drivers in this race. It's an all-out sprint to the end. And these tyres should hang on decently. Of course, still the older tyre model being used for these cars. And I've seen some quite chaotic and comical F3 racers around this place with the new tyre model, but hopefully that will be implemented on 3.5 at some point whilst addressing a few of its obvious issues. But these tyres should hang on quite well to the end of the race. Might get a little bit slower as the track temperature just rises, as get a little bit more sun on the circuit, as Moric catching up, goes to the outside, gonna have to do it the tough way. Carrying a lot of speed, a little bit banked as this first curve. If he can just keep his nose alongside, he might have the inside. No, just had to, couldn't quite keep himself alongside. But Kajinen, really good driving there. Left a car's width as well, all the way through. Great to see that generosity when driving. And Mark's just falling a little bit offline, and straight away, Cipla is catching up to them.
Yeah, he's fallen straight into their hands. It's fallen straight into his hands, hasn't it, for Matty? And Cipla is going to try and pick his way through this. It was a great scrap between those two in the opening sector. And now they've got to worry about the blue and white car that's starting to fill their mirrors. If Cipla can get by these, he's only 1 place off where he started, but Paul Ilbrink is 10 seconds up the road, so I don't think he's going to be able to get that far. Up the inside, then into Spoon. Off goes in the process Jene Kajinen, but he's able to get back on the track. Cipla is still within striking distance, but even though he went off going through Spoon, it looks like it's still going to be a pretty good run for the Finn in 5th. Is he going to try and go around the outside of 130R and replicate a move done earlier on in the race? No, they're just going to go wheel to wheel through there. It will give him the inside line for the Casio Triangle, though, and on the brakes does go the Finn. Oh, where are you going, mate? Moric is going off into the gravel there and loses both places. Just 1 place to Matty, and I think he's going to lose one to Thomas Knoll as well as they come over the timing line.
Yeah, really good straight line speed though, and if anything, by the end of that straight, somehow he was going a little bit faster, was Moric, than Knoll. Don't quite know how that happened, but maybe just running a little bit less wing on that car, so he at least stays ahead there in 6th place. But Cipla should have a very good chance of getting past Kajinen now. Kajinen with no slipstream from the car ahead, and Cipla has a big overspeed on him. You question what Cipla could have done in this race if it weren't for that spin earlier on that was running in 3rd place. Certainly you feel would be running in the top 2 as it is right now. Tim Delisle maybe was in sight for him as well, but just a good recovery. Recover a little bit of iRacing as well would be a decent result for him. And he's just lining this up, I think, for the chicane. That'll be his best opportunity at the move. If not there, maybe the first corner instead.
Dude, yeah, this is turning into quite a long train almost. You can almost factor into the equation Rob Bower as well, who's right at the back of that shot. You can see on the battle graphic as well. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars all listed as being in this fight. See what Matty can do now. He disposed of one car on the previous lap. Let's see if he can get by one here through 130R. Look, 1 or 2 wheels on the grass there from Herjik Kaishinen. It's a fight of the Finns going into the final chicane. Through the right and now through the left. Back on the power again. Charlie Summers has had something go wrong. In fact, it's a fight for second, isn't it? Into the first corner. Instead of something had gone wrong, I think it was Paul Ilbrink just mounting an attack. Summers remains in second place, and it looks like that Matti Sippler is going to go into through in second place as well. Yes. Through he goes. There's a whole lot of smoke on the front straight. God knows what that was from. No idea. It might have been Julian Naki, who has been shown as crashed on the event viewer. That might be the reason to explain it, but nonetheless, that is Matti Sippler back into fourth place.
Could be a bit of a dull race for him to the end. He's got 11 seconds to catch up to Ilbrink, which unless they make contact this second and third battle, you doubt that Sippler is going to be able to catch back up. But certainly Karsten, March, Knoll and Bohr is going to be a very close battle. Also Langer catching up to those guys. Very quick in 9th place. Summers is not looking too comfortable against Ilbrink. Ilbrink going to spin, which is not usually a corner where drivers get particularly close to one another just because of the turbulence from the few corners prior. Vainey made the move, so going down into Casio Triangle is going to be well within range to go for an overtake. Surely Summers is going to have to go mega defensive hit, but Ilbrink finds the inside into the final corner. Summers has to almost turn out of the corner just to avoid the radicals online driver, and a little bit of a mistake there from Summers as well on the exit, so he can't repel the attack going into turn 1. So Ilbrink moves up into second place once again, much faster in the race than he was in qualifying, and he's got 5.6 seconds to catch up to Delal, maybe a bit too far, but that's still a very good recovery, and once again showing his very good racecraft.
Dude, yeah, so he's only 1 place away, but yeah, 10 seconds with 5 laps to go. It's probably going to be too tough an ask for Sapila, I should say. Tim Delisle then, he has got a 5.6 second lead. It's car number 2 leading car number 1. I think Paul Ilbrink, if he finishes in second, should still maintain his reasonably strong iRacing. Fight here for 11th. This is Cedric Bill versus David Roth, and David Roth almost gets forced off the circuit, well, almost drives off the circuit there in his fight to get by the Frenchman. Roth right where he started, the only driver in the field to be running where they started after qualifying. It was just a lone qualifying, 2 laps to get your time in, and he remains in 12th place after 18 laps have been completed. Cedric Bill up 9 places, Andreas Nilsson, a car in front of him, 11 places gained, so these guys have definitely been working their way through the field. And here is the Scandinavian, here is the Swede. I think the closest thing that this livery had to a Swedish driver was probably JJ Leto, and he was from Finland. So that's the only connection I think I can get with this one.
He, by the way, Knoll just had a very poor lap. 8 seconds lost on that last lap, did Thomas Knoll. Was right in the thick of the battle with March and Bohr and co. But not anymore. This is how it happens. They do spoon curve. And as he just put on the power a little bit too early, he's struggling with the rear grip. We've seen this a lot of the time. It seems to be a lot more oversteer for these drivers than anything. And did well to straight away slam on the brakes, minimise the risk of hitting the wall, but he did lose a place to Langer, and trying to get back to Langer, so those two are going to be quite quick to the end of the race, but they've just left each other a little bit too much time to catch up to the pack ahead within the 22 laps, only 3 laps to go.
Yeah, just this race has pretty much flown by. Yeah, it seems to be pretty weird, the exit of Spoon. Quite a few cars have gone off there, and I wonder if there's some sort of wind or something blowing that way that's just causing some sort of disturbance, because ordinarily it looks like a pretty straightforward exit of that corner. Change for position there. That was in the background. That was Victor Morgan getting by David Roth. So Victor is back into 12th place. And now he can see if he can get by the Frenchman that sits in front of him and maybe get a top 11 finish. Bit of a lock up there going into the left-hander. Not too much in the way of smoke or anything, but it probably was on your on the viewers' stream, to be fair. Especially if I was calling the sun the moon a couple of weeks ago. Well, on lap 20 now with 22, and the end is in sight for many of these drivers. Some decent points. This is, of course, just round 5 of the season. Next week is pretty much the halfway point at Phillip Island, down under. Then it's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Canada, Cota in Texas, then Donington Park. That should be fun on the 5th of November. Interlagos, Indianapolis Road, and then the season ends just before December, really, at Road America. So that is the state of play regarding the rest of the championship. Some decent looking tracks on there, and we've got the whole of the season on Apex Racing TV, so you know where to be for this series every night, every week, every Saturday night at 8 o'clock GMT, 9 BST, and of course once the hour switches in a couple of weeks, it'll be 8 o'clock here in the UK as well.
Looking forward to that. Not because of the time change, but just it's a lot easier. It's 6 months of just saying GMT, and that's the time that it is in the UK. Glorious, I must say. Although losing an hour of the evening is not the best. Darkness at 4 is not always the best thing in the world.
It means I'll probably be leaving for work. Yeah, it means I'll probably be leaving for work in the pitch black now rather than than it is now, and I'll probably be getting back from work in the pitch black as well.
Yeah.
The nights are rolling in. I probably need to fish out the hat at some point. These guys are not worrying about that. They're worrying about a spot in the top 5 as Kaisen holds on to that, but it's wheel to wheel going through. Wilm 30R, the kaleidoscope of colour that is Rob Bower trying to take the place away from Muric going into the Casio Triangle. Oh, he's nearly rolled him over. And that is Lubomir Muric off at the Casio Triangle on the penultimate lap. Hopefully there's no damage and he can get back on and complete the final tour of the circuit. Oh dear, no, that might just be the tyres being superly heated up. Does a nice donut and gets on his way. Looks like with a wiggle, everything looks okay, but Sam, that was 2 cars going side by side for the chicane and it not paying off for the Central Eastern European.
Yeah, I thought he'd left enough room on the inside there. I mean, I'm not quite sure how much space the other driver took on the inside. Moritz tried to get back underway, really easy to do that. And you're absolutely right, those tyres would have been ever so hot after spinning the car around previously. It's absolutely sure that the second time doesn't spin again. But I don't think that second spin cost him any positions. He's now just ahead of Andreas Nielsen. So he lost places to Langer and Knoll, I believe. And of course he was fighting with Bohr.
Yeah, that's just about it. If Nielsen was to get by, he'd make it 12 places gained for the sweep. But unless Moritz has another spin, I don't think he's going to do that. Right then, we are not too far away from starting the final lap. In fact, we're starting it now. Here comes Tim Dalal over the timing line. White flag is out. And in the background, you might just see, right at the top of your screen, you can see Paul Ilbrink and Charlie Summers. Just half a second between the Radicals driver and Summers, who sits in 3rd. And a good tussle between them. It was very close at one point. Charlie Summers has just put in his new personal best on that last lap. So he is still trying, but the gap remains 3/4 of a second. And he's going to have to push quite hard if he wants to close that gap to second place to try and get by Paul Ilbrink in the final few miles of this race.
Rink versus Vocatelli. I think that's like the 3rd time Rink has overtaken Vocatelli in this race. He's up 2 paces, Rink. It could have been a bit better for him. He seems to have had decent pace, but just a few too many setbacks. Vocatelli in 15th place. Zamborski, the last driver on the lead lap, in 16th. as they start their final lap now. Dalal over halfway around the lap already, shows the field spread. Such a tricky track, this Suzuka, so understandable that there's a little bit more of a gap between the fastest guys and the midfield drivers out here.
A bit more of an interesting race than the one I covered, the last one I covered at Barcelona. I think we had a grand total of 3 overtakes in that one. Tim Delisle, though, it's a perfect start to his day. I think it is early morning in Australia. Through the final corner he comes. He's going to take the checker flag in the strength field race here in the iRacing Formula 3.5. Checker flag is out. Tim Delisle wins here at Suzuka. Sets the fastest lap of the race as well on his way to doing so. Paul Ilbrink finishes in second, a new personal best for him as well. And Charlie Summers completes the podium, fight for 5th, going into the final chicane. Kaiserden looks like he's just about going to do it. And the Technicolor Dreamcoat that is Rob Bower is going to finish in 6th place, just 0.6 of a second behind. 7th for Jose Langer. There he goes across the line, despite 2 spins, puts in a new personal best, 2, as he comes across the line. Here is Thomas Knoll in 8th. For him, 5 seconds behind is Lubomir Muric. He finishes ahead of Andreas Nielsen, who was the biggest mover at 1995 Benetton. That's the same car that Schumacher drove from 17th to 1st in the Belgian Grand Prix. So he was channeling that, I'd say, in his fight through the field. And the rest of them coming across the line now.
Yes, so another great event of this series. And it's always fantastic to see cars lap around this circuit. We don't really get all of this, right? Because it's not necessarily used a whole lot. It ought to be used a whole lot more, seeing that's such a great race circuit, good for all the cars. And yet we quite rarely see it on many of the schedules. So it was nice that the community voted this track in. And yeah, pretty much approaching the halfway mark of the season. And Tim Delisle really setting himself as the man to beat in this championship. I can't remember having a race that he hasn't won this season. Certainly won at Silverstone. I believe he won at Barcelona as well, and he wins at Suzuka here today.
Yeah, he does. Race results on your screen. I think there's some wild stat somewhere saying Suzuka's been in the most racing games ever or something like that. Let me know if that's not true. Tim Delisle wins then. Paul Ilbrink finishes in second, 6.4 seconds down the road. Charlie Summers in third. Matti Ciplia in fourth. Then Jone Kaiserden in 5th, then Rob Bower 6th, Jose Langer in 7th place, the Iberian, Thomas Knoll in 8th place, 9th for Lubomir Muric, and Andreas Nielsen gets a top 10 and is the biggest mover in the field. 11th for David Roth, Victor Morgan in 12th, Cedric Bill in 13th, the Frenchman, Jochen Rink in the Tolman had a off at the hairpin, but still carried on to finish in 14th place, Alessandro Roccatello in 15th, Edward Zamborski, the New Yorker, was off at the first corner, I think, and finished just over a minute behind. 1 lap down for Julian Naki, and then the cars that didn't finish the race. Christophe Herbigno was in second place for the first third of the race, but then had a moment that resulted in him hitting the wall quite hard on the exit of the Degners, and he was done for the day. Simone Pizzica in 19th, 20 laps down. Nicolas Vigneur in 20th, Luke Groom out very early on, and so too James Mallow. So both of them having very early retirements. We can get an early night because the Grand Prix will be on very early tomorrow morning, and that is how they finished it today. And we do have Paul Ilbrink waiting to speak to us in the interview room. So without further ado, we can grab him in for a quick word. And he joins us now. Paul, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, welcome. We've got your start on the replay at the moment on the stream, and it was a pretty decent drive for you to get right from the midfield up to second place in the end.
Yeah, I thought it would be a bit boring if I started like P3, P4, so started a bit further back to show some action. But yeah, I messed up my qualifying quite bad. Like I had a really sloppy first lap, and then the second lap I started quite well, but then in the Dunlop corner, it's so on the edge in the car, and I was like, was at a point that I was too afraid to put any more steering input in, and I just was hoping that the tires would grip enough to make the corner, but I ran wide, so ruined the lap there. So I had to start a bit further back, but it was okay.
Had a good scrap with Charlie Summers as well at one point. I think you were going wheel to wheel for the first corner.
Did I?
Might have been.
Maybe. I don't know.
So many races for you to remember.
I don't know. I could. Yeah. Not really. Was it at the end or? I don't know.
It was probably in the middle. A lot probably happened since then.
Well, like, not really. Like, the most things that happened was people in front of me spinning and crashing, and then just at the end, I was like catching Charlie and just using DRS on laps that I had like the most headwind out of Spoon, and saved a couple up for like the end when I passed him and I could drive away from him. But it was all good.
I think you set your personal best on the last lap. Was there just endless amounts of grip out there with the track temperature being so cool?
Well, like I said, I saved up some DRS, so I used it three sections in that lap, so it was a bit extra to just not give Charlie any hope, I guess.
It looks like it's probably going to be a close battle between you and Tim for the official series title here. If you'd qualified a bit higher, do you reckon you could have challenged him at the front?
I don't think so. We also run, Tim, me, and a couple others in this race also run in the AOR League on Friday, and I think he's just the fastest guy in this car at the moment. So if I could have, maybe I could have stuck with him if I qualified top 3 or something at the end, but still like beating him, I think that would have been very hard.
Well, finally, next week is Tim Delisle's home race. Really, it's Phillip Island for week 6 of the season. How do you reckon the Formula 3.5 car is going to fare around there?
Well, in the World Championship in the F1, in both the Williams and the McLaren, it's actually been a real good track all the way. So I hope it's the same for this car. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Well, before we let you go, do you want to send a quick shout out to anyone?
Yeah, sure. To all my teammates at Radicals Online and our partners, Cranfield, Roll Real Timing, Armor Center, Sim Race, Motiv Podcast, Turn Racing, Sim Mortal, Six Sideways, and Pixel Dust, who does our nice liver.
Great. Well, Paul, thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us. Well done on the result today, and yeah, all the best next week at Phillip Island.
All right, thanks, and see you next week.
Paul Ilbrink there. And I think that is pretty much it as we're approaching 10 o'clock. Sam, you've got to get some sleep if you're going to watch this qualifying and the race. My God. But for you, final thoughts on what we've seen here today at Suzuka. Pretty entertaining race.
Yes, definitely. 22 laps around this place, and yeah, just nice to visit once again. I mean, yeah. Oh, dear, I'm not going to get much sleep, am I? I swear, if there's like red flags, I remember 2010 qualifying. It wasn't 2010 qualifying. 2009 qualifying, I think there was like 3 red flags. So I swear if there's 3 red flags and it goes on for an extra hour, I'm not going to be happy. But hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully the rain will stop in real life. But looking forward to next week in this series. Once again, not sure what track we're visiting, but
next week.
Oh, Phillip Island, you said,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, they're similar circuit to this actually, with the kind of long corners and really tough to overtake around there. I mean, there's not a proper kind of straight into a tight corner. There's a lot of kind of flowing corners into tight corners. But some of the World Championship events actually around that track in the MP4-30 were fantastic to watch as well. So unique place. Drivers aren't going to necessarily have a whole lot of experience around there, but that's going to bring in an extra element, and hopefully we see some good participation next week as well.
Yeah, we saw that today, and it was a good race. Looking forward to that. I would stay up for qualifying, but I'll probably be falling asleep at the wheel in the BSR TCR that's coming up tomorrow night. So yeah, watch out for that. Well, my thanks then to Sam Fitzpatrick and for Sam Kumo on the cameras as well tonight. I know Sam Kumo's got to go off and get the VR headset on and get in the car for a Spa 6-hour race that's going on right now. So we'll wrap things up here from Suzuka International Racing Course. Make sure to give this video a like, a subscribe, and turn your post notifications on by pressing the bell so you never miss a live stream. And we'll be back this time next week when the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship heads down under to Phillip Island. So from me and from the two Sams here, good night.